In this class, we will see the gross anatomy of stomach, which is again a simple topic compared to some other organs in the abdomen and pelvis. It may be asked as essay in the exams or as short notes in this topic like stomach bed, blood supply of stomach, histology of stomach, development of stomach, like this. So, the stomach is the most dilated part of the digestive system, which intervenes between the esophagus and the duodenum. On an average, the food is retained in the stomach for about 3 to 4 hours, depending on the quality of the food. With this introduction, we'll move on to the topic. So, as we have told in the previous class of spleen, for every viscera, we have to start with the situation and which quadrants it occupy in the abdomen, comparing with the 9 quadrants in the abdomen. So, situation of the stomach with moderate gastric contents, it occupies the epigastric mainly, left hypochondriac and umbilical regions. Capacity of the stomach, it depends on the age of the person. In newborn, very little, 30 to 50 ml, and in the adult, 1000 to 1500 ml. Fundus of the stomach is filled with air even when the stomach is empty. The volume of fundic air is about 50 ml in the adults. Shape of the stomach. It depends on the cadaver or in the living. Again, in the living, it depends on the types of the persons. In cadaver, the stomach is sickle shaped, the wider end being directed upwards and to the left. In the living, the stomach is J shaped. It depends on the personality of the persons. The shape of the stomach presents 3 types. Normal type, the longer limb of the J is slightly oblique. This is normal type or sthenic type. Hypersthenic type, J is very oblique, like Steer-Hahn stomach. These people are prone to form duodenal ulcer most. Then the third type is in lean individuals, hyposthenic type, J is mostly vertical. These people are susceptible to suffer from gastric ulcer. So we have seen the situation, capacity and shape of the stomach. Presenting parts of the stomach. Stomach presents 2 orifices, cardiac and pyloric, 2 curvatures, lesser and greater, 2 surfaces, anterosuperior and posterior-inferior, and 3 subdivisions, fundus, body and pylorus. We will see one by one. First, we will start with the orifices, cardiac and pyloric. Cardiac orifice is situated about 2.5 cm to the left of the median plane, exactly behind the left 7th costal cartilage, opposite to the T11 vertebra. It is just about 10 cm deep to the anterior abdominal wall and 40 cm away from the incisor teeth. Pyloric end, it is situated about 1.25 centimeter to the right of the midline at the lower border of the L1 vertebra. So this end is close to the midline than the cardiac end. And one more point you should note in this pyloric end is the transpyloric plane means it passes through this pyloric orifice, that is at the L1 level, transpyloric plane. So this exactly shows the transpyloric plane at the lower border of L, at the lower border of, what is the level of the transpyloric plane? At the lower border of L1 vertebra, provided stomach is empty and the subject in the supine position. Cardiac end is to the left and pyloric end is to the right of the midline. What is the other name of transpyloric plane? Addison spleen. Some other structures lie at this level. So this transpyloric plane, some other structures also lie at this level. So you think now the borders, lesser curvature or greater curvature. Lesser curvature, it forms the right border of the stomach. It is J-shaped, more fixed than the greater curvature, and it is lying more on the posterior plane than the greater curvature. And the most dependent part of the curvature is known as incisura angularis. So this curvature gives attachment to the two layers of the lesser omentum, which contains anastomosis of right and left gastric vessels close to the curvature. Greater curvature, that is the another border, left border of the stomach, compared to the lesser curvature, it is more superficial, more movable, about 4 to 5 times longer than the lesser curvature, begins at the cardiac notch on the left side of the cardiac orifice, then arches upwards and backwards to the left, forming the fundus. Then the border presents a convexity downwards and to the left. So this curvature is about 4 to 5 times greater than the longer than the lesser curvature. So it is called greater curvature. Greater curvature gives attachment to the following peritoneal folds. At the cardiac end, gastrophrenic ligament. Opposite the fundus, gastrosplenic ligament. Rest of the curvature, anterior two layers of the greater omentum, which contains the anastomosis of left and right gastroepiploic vessels close to the curvature. So this is what we have seen at the cardiac end, gastrophrenic ligament, opposite the fundus, gastrosplenic ligament, and rest of the curvature, anterior two layers of the greater omentum. Now we will move on to the surfaces of the stomach. We have covered two ends or two orifices of the stomach, two borders of the stomach. Anterosuperior, it is slightly covered with peritoneum of the, it is entirely covered with peritoneum of the greater sac, and its relations are right part, it is related to the gastric impression of the left lobe and quadrate lobe of the liver. So what is the adjacent viscera? You have to think of for all the relations of the abdominal organs. So this stomach is situated adjacent to the left lobe of the liver. So it will be related to this, that will be the right part. Upper and left part related to the diaphragm beneath the left costal margin. In intermediate triangular part, it comes in contact with the anterior abdominal wall. So in this you can see the relations of the anterosuperior surface, right side liver. Left side, left costal margin. Below, transverse colon. So in the intermediate part, which is not related with any viscera, the triangular part is coming in contact with the anterior abdominal wall. This will be called as the gastric triangle. So the gastric triangle is an area of the stomach in contact with the anterior abdominal wall. Boundaries: right side, lower border of the liver. Left side, left costal margin. Below, transverse colon. So what is the importance of knowing this gastric triangle? In complete esophageal obstruction, you want to put a tube. In emergencies, a tube can be introduced in the stomach through the gastric triangle for feeding the patient. This will be called as gastrostomy, opening the stomach, or TOMY, tracheostomy, gastrostomy. TOMY means opening. So in this gastric triangle, you can open the stomach without disturbing the other viscera. That's how the student should know the gastric triangle on the anterosuperior surface. Now another interesting part of this stomach is the trough space. What is this trough space? It's a topographic area overlying the fundus of the stomach. So if you examine the persons, it is tympanic on percussion. So if you percuss over this area, that is tympanic, because the fundus is filled with the fundic air. Boundaries of the trough space: above, lower border of left lung. Below, left costal margin. Right side, liver, lower border of the left lobe of the liver. Left side, lateral end of the spleen. What is this importance is, normally this space will be tympanic on percussion. This space may be obliterated by the enlargements of the liver, spleen, or by the pleural effusion. So that is the clinical point. When you examine the trough space, you should have in the mind. So this is what we are telling, the trough space. Trough space, so if you percuss over that area, it should be normally tympanic. If you are not having the tympanic note, then you should suspect enlargements of the liver, spleen, or maybe the pleural effusion. Postero-inferior surface. It is covered with the peritoneum of the lesser sac. Anterosuperior surface is covered with peritoneum of the greater sac. Postero-inferior surface is covered with peritoneum of the lesser sac. It is related to a number of structures which form the so-called stomach bed. So in this image you can see stomach bed. When you are writing or you are telling, should write in the order from the above downwards. So the stomach bed is covered with the peritoneum of the lesser sac and forms a shallow fossa upon which the stomach rests in the recumbent supine position. The bed consists of the following. You see the image from above downwards: left crest of the diaphragm, left suprarenal gland, anterior surface of the left kidney, tortuous splenic artery, anterior surface of the pancreas, anterior layer of the transverse mesocolon, and sometimes left colic flexure and gastric impression of the spleen. So all these are the structures over which this postero-inferior surface is related or rests on, and this will be called as stomach bed. Subdivisions of the stomach: you have to draw two imaginary lines. one horizontal plane through the cardiac notch and another line from the incisura angularis to a notch on the left side of the pyloric antrum. So that the stomach is divided into three parts: fundus, body, and pylorus. The fundus is the part of the stomach above a horizontal plane passing through the cardiac notch. Body is separated from the pyloric part by an imaginary plane extending from the incisura angularis to the notch on the left side of the pyloric antrum. Pyloric part is again divided into pyloric antrum, pyloric canal, and pylorus. A sulcus intermedius intervenes between the pyloric antrum and the pyloric canal. The length of the pyloric part is about 10 centimeter, antrum is about 7.5 centimeter, and canal is about 2.5 centimeter. So we have finished the presenting parts of the stomach: cardiac end and pyloric end, lesser curvature and greater curvature, anterosuperior surface and posterior-inferior surface. And we added a note on the gastric triangle and drop space. And also the subdivisions of the stomach we have seen. Now we will move on to the arterial supply of the stomach. The following arteries supply the stomach: left gastric, right gastric, left gastroepiploic, right gastroepiploic, short gastric, posterior gastric. So in this, which is the principal artery of the stomach, is left gastric artery, which supplies about 2/3 of the stomach. Left gastric artery is the direct branch of celiac trunk. So now in this arterial supply, you should bring the celiac trunk branches in mind. It supplies upper 2/3 of the stomach. Right gastric is the branch of common hepatic artery. These two gastric arteries anastomose close to the lesser curvature within the lesser omentum. Left gastroepiploic, it's a branch of splenic artery. Epiploic means, we have seen in the epiploic foramen class, epiploic means omental. So it is gastro-omental meaning. Right gastroepiploic is a branch of gastroduodenal. Both these right and left gastroepiploic arteries anastomose close to the greater curvature within the anterior layers of the greater omentum. Short gastric, 3 to 4 short branches of splenic artery mainly supply the fundus of the stomach. Posterior gastric artery sometimes arises from the splenic artery and supplies the pyloric posterior wall of the fundus, passing through the omental bursa. So these are the arteries which supply the stomach. The principal artery of the stomach is the left gastric. So the celiac trunk diagram, again you have to recall and see the arteries, and we have to remember these arteries come from which branches also. Left gastric from celiac trunk, right gastric from, you see the uppermost arteries running along the lesser curvature, or you seeing left gastric is directly arising from celiac trunk, right gastric is arising from common hepatic artery. Then you see the lowermost arteries along the greater curvature. Left gastroepiploic is a branch of splenic artery. Right gastroepiploic is a branch of omental artery. Gastroduodenal artery. Venous drainage of the stomach: right and left gastric veins into the trunk of the portal vein. Short gastric and left gastroepiploic veins into the splenic vein. Right gastroepiploic vein into the trunk of the superior mesenteric vein. The veins of the stomach correspond to the arteries of the stomach and drain indirectly or directly into the portal vein. A portacaval anastomosis is present around the abdominal part of the esophagus between the esophageal tributaries of the left gastric and inferior hemiazygos veins. So, left gastric veins between the esophageal tributaries of the left gastric. So, in portal obstruction, these veins are distended, producing esophageal varices. Rupture of these varices results in the hematemesis or blood vomiting. So, this is the one site of the left gastric vein is the one site of the portacaval anastomosis. Lymphatic drainage of the stomach. We have to know the lymphatic drainage of the stomach, and first before we have to start with the lymphatic drainage of the stomach, we have to know the adjacent lymph nodes. So you try to see the adjacent lymph nodes. So from the part of the stomach, you have to draw a vertical line from the cardiac orifice. From the part of the stomach to the left of the vertical line drawn from the cardiac orifice, they will be draining into pancreaticosplenic lymph nodes. So are you seeing in the uppermost pancreaticosplenic lymph nodes to the left, and also to the paracardiac lymph nodes. The right of the stomach will be draining into the left gastric lymph nodes. From the lower third of the right part, they pass into the right gastroepiploic lymph nodes. So this is how we have to divide this lymphatic drainage into left and right parts. So the same, how the adjacent lymph nodes, you have to remember how they carry the lymphatic drainage of the stomach. Ligaments of the stomach, lesser omentum, greater omentum, gastrosplenic ligament, which may be called as the third omentum, gastrophrenic ligament, left or superior gastropancreatic fold. So these ligaments of the stomach we will not cover in this class in the detail. You have to know about all these folds of the peritoneum, and in the peritoneal folds section you have to learn in detail. If you learn these peritoneal folds in detail in the peritoneal folds section, then you can write for every viscera. Applied anatomy of the stomach are so many. For this completion, we will say few. Congenital hypertrophic pyloric stenosis. This affects mainly the firstborn male child, and the symptoms will be the constant vomiting in the newborn. The cause is, the name itself tells, hypertrophic pylorus. So the circular muscles have hypertrophied. Gastric ulcer, which is itself is a vast topic, you will be learning in the coming years of the medicine. So the gastric ulcer affects the mucosa of the stomach. So for the treatment of the gastric ulcer, truncal vagotomy or selective vagotomy, these are the surgeries which should be done for the treatment of the gastric ulcer, because the gastric ulcer may sometimes perforate. This truncal vagotomy and selective vagotomy, which are the common surgeries when we were students, but it is rare to see nowadays. because of the treatment of the gastric ulcer with modern drugs. The next is the gastric carcinoma of the stomach is also common. So that all to confirm this ulcer or gastric carcinoma of the stomach, the usual investigation we have to do is put the tube into the stomach and visualize through the mouth. So that will be called as endoscopy. So this will complete this topic of the gross anatomy of the stomach. So this we have seen elaborate details of the stomach, starting from the situation, size and shape of the stomach, presenting parts of the stomach in detail, arterial supply, venous drainage, lymphatic drainage of the stomach, and also the applied anatomy of the stomach. You can also prepare along with this topic histology of the stomach and and the development of the stomach. That will be useful if you are asked in the exam. So to complete this, we have to know mainly about the applied anatomy, this congenital hypertrophic pyloric stenosis, gastric ulcer, vagotomy, and gastric carcinoma. So, with the next viscera in the abdomen region, we will see in the next class.